Our Zoom chat today is a chance to visit with a singer who has inspired so many of us. He has been a member of the Barbershop Harmony Society for 42 years, starting at the age of 7. He's been in a total of 7 quartets, the first one called the Unaccounted For when he was 10 years old. And in order to compete, they brought a box out on stage for him to stand on. His next quartet was the Cypress Chord Club, and they placed 38th at International. And then he sang in One Shot Deal, who placed 21st. And after that, 4 International Quartet Championships. He won with Keepsake in 1992, Platinum in 2000, Max Q in 2007, and Main Street in 2017. He currently holds the incredible record for most quartet wins with Joe Connolly. Tony has directed the Heralds of Harmony, his BHS chorus, twice, the first time from 1994 to 2002, and then from 2012 to the present. And he started directing his Sweet Adeline chorus, Toast of Tampa, in 2007. Tony has traveled the world as a performer and as a coach, and I know you're going to love hearing him tell his story of his barbershop journey. So let's get started. Hey, Tony, welcome to Zoom Chats 2021. I appreciate you fitting me into your schedule.
It's awesome to be able to connect.
Let's go back. I want you to tell all of our listeners how you got started in barbershop.
Yeah, mine was from second generation barbershopper. My mom and dad both found barbershop after they were married. They were both college vocal students along the way before they started their teaching careers. And my mom started in Sweet Adelines, and then my dad started with men's organization. And then I think their real common love together for barbershop came together through helping with the Alpha Chords, which was a Harmony Incorporated chorus out of Rochester. And soon after, my sister and I came along, and we just didn't know anything except barbershop. I mean, our social lives were, revolved around either the Alpha Chords at the time or the chorus of the Genesee, the men's chorus there, which my dad, first was a member in, singing on the risers, and then but shortly after he directed for a while, and like I said, director for the Alpha Chords. And so as a kid, I mean, just that barbershop buzz and harmony was just in my ear. My association then was going from that into joining the chorus of the Genesee. When I was 7 years old is when I started in barbershop.
Were you on the risers at 7?
Yeah, I would usually go to rehearsal with my dad, and then my mom would pick me up around 8. If it started at 7, she'd pick me up around 8:30, 8:45, and I wouldn't be there for the second half of the rehearsal. Like, I remember staying for a couple of, the whole time for the rehearsal. That was a treat to be able to do that, because it meant that I was able to hang out with my dad for the whole night and be there. But usually it was part-time. We were close enough that she would come get me, and then because I was in second grade or whatever,
Yeah. So what is it about the community that makes it okay for a 7-year-old to be on the risers?
The music really is the intimacy that brings us together. The sound, the blending of voices, without a band to help us along, and your only real possibility for anything working is everyone doing it together, and making sure that everyone is essentially taking a little bit of care of each other while we're actually doing the craft of barbershop. And I think then that spills over into every other element of us through the association. I mean, Clay Hine this year, as we've been in the pandemic, he wrote that song, "It's the Music That Brings Us Together." And his tagline, it's the music that brings us together, but it's the friendships that make us stay. And I think that there's truth to that. At the same time, without the buzz of the chord and the association of what the music does while we're together, I don't know that some of the other relationships would have ever happened. So when it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? For me, it was always the music. It was always the fact that we were ringing chords or not ringing chords and trying to figure out how we could, that kind of thing. And there was a safety in that, because again, everybody in the community, they wanted to make sure that I was well taken care of in every possible way, that I was safe and looked after, and also wanted to celebrate my my achievements, my becoming part of the identity of the community as well. It was very much a growing experience that they took ownership and responsibility for. So I mean, like when I won my first gold medal, I mean that was a really cool thing for me, for my quartet. But it was an even bigger cool thing.
Yeah.
It was an even cooler thing for the communities that I've been in. So the guys in the chorus of the Genesee, the guys in Pride of Polk, and the guys in Heralds of Harmony, because they were there. They were the ones that were so responsible for the week in, week out, and the week in, week out of teaching, learning the music and everything else. But the week in, week out of, hey, you're 16 and you need to go pick up a riser and put a riser away because I'm 60 and I'm not going to do it, and you need to do it and give to the community, or whatever, or whatever it was, taking care of chairs, putting out music, being a greeter for people, or whatever it was, you know, that was all of those other life lessons that came along with being a part of the community started because of the love for the music and the connection. I mean, barbershop is really, and I've said this a lot of times on this side of my, I guess, musical understanding or experience. I don't sit back and think that barbershop is this tremendously complex art form. It really isn't.
Mhm.
But it's the consistency and the synergy that comes about when it's locked up and right, that makes it that kind of addictive thing.
And I
Um,
mean, I think there's so much discipline that goes along with it, but it's
yeah,
different than, someone who's paid to do it. So we're the opposite. We pay to do it.
exactly.
And I love that it's so many amateur musicians and they all go through that experience of locking a chord. It's completely visceral. I mean, for me, it was, how did we do that? What
Right.
was that? What was
I think that is the little bit of a drug, if you want to call it that we're all fed, is that buzz and that connection to the music or the connection to the voices. And obviously then the process, as you just mentioned, by which you got there, because
that?
then it's even some of that synergy that happens maybe as you're in duet sessions or trio sessions. I mean, getting to making the chords, that kind of stuff too, where you're like, oh, this is how my voice associates to this voice, and that kind of thing. And you said it too. I mean, in a hobbyist organization, people are there because they want to be there. Boy, when as you've seen it with your, the groups that you work with, but also your main group that you've worked with for so many years. I mean, when you see the individual member willing to dive in, and it's not just like, uh, it's not, they're here for 3 hours and, a night, a week. It's not the time. It's the investment of attention and focus, and it's just because they want to do it. I mean, they love it so much, and there's that was a life lesson for me. Thankfully, that I was taught, at 7, and then probably mostly there were a few years when I would have been like what 13ish to 17, when had moved to Florida, and we were in a group called the Pride of Polk. We moved to Florida and moved to Brandon, which is really close to Tampa. And I don't know that Dad was necessarily looking to direct a chorus when he got down here, but a guy by the name of Klein Clary, who's kind of a legendary barbershopper here in Florida, found out about my dad and invited him over to the chorus, the chapter that we ended up staying with. And it was a drive. It was a further drive to get there than it would have been to go to the Tampa chapter at the time. They scored high 50s, low 60s when my dad got there. My dad said that night, he said, absolutely. And it's going to be an international competitive chorus at
Oh,
some point.
and he
And
did.
by God, he did it. I mean, it was a 4-year time. So that would have been like 83-ish. I mean, in 1988, he took what ended up being this little competitive course that had gone through several different things to international in 1988 and finished 8th
Oh,
in the world.
I'm saying you learned the craft really,
Yeah,
that you were digging in. I mean, your dad was having to peel back what they may have known already and build this vision.
completely,
Yeah.
completely
And you were
reteach.
there. Plus, you had the time in the car with your dad.
Yeah,
Uh, there's that relationship time that if your dad had not taken you, it would just would have been time that your dad was gone.
yeah, for sure. I knew who my dad was because of being with him at least one night a week,
Yeah.
you know, for captive time, and seeing how he related with other people, that kind of thing too. And then the fact that it was a family affair, because I mean, it was very much a family group. My mom certainly knew stuff and would say, nope, that wasn't great. And, along the way too. And all the while my sister was, Chris was still, I think, wanting to sing, but she got into the band route as she went into school, which was also a huge passion. I mean, she and I both played horns through junior high and high school and so forth too.
You describe yourself as never having studied music.
I don't have a degree or anything like that. Yeah.
You don't have a degree in music. So you
Correct.
learned it all really at your father's knee, if I could be corny.
Yeah, pretty much. But my main influencer is probably for music teaching, definitely my dad, or I should say music and performance. And then Jim Casey
Mm.
taught me a ton about voice. And I know Jim was a voice teacher for so many barbershoppers, male and female, for so long.
Yeah.
So he taught me a ton from the time I was in Keepsake all the way through, like I said, the time that he passed. I would say that he's, was my voice teacher. And then Larry Ager. Larry just, he had performance concepts. And he was just a visionary for performing elements, and he just really instilled some stuff. Again, formative years, it was when I was with Keepsake and stuff. So those three were probably big ones. But my gosh, Don Barnick, I mean, I sang with him, but holy cow, he taught me a lot. Obviously Joe Conley taught me a lot. And then I don't know, I guess I've always just tried to learn from everyone. I mean, having a chance to work with Dale Syverson and Randy Lose has been awesome. Erin Howden, I mean, I always pick up something from her. And even, I've had a chance to spend time with the Melodiers. Spend time with the Melodiers, you're going to learn. I mean, it's just that way, as you know. So I've just been, I mean, my education has come from being around unbelievable musicians and barbershoppers, really. And it's just been a great crossover to everything else that I've had to do. I love being coached by the right person. And that was a lot of it always for every quartet was, I think, and chorus as well, is making sure that the person that you're bringing in is someone that you believe not only firmly in who they are as a person, but what they believe and what they actually vision, as a teacher themselves. But if that's in front of me, then it's super easy for me to just go, and be completely at peace, just taking
Tell me what to do.
taking it in. Just tell me what to do, and I mean, in recent history, Clay Hine was pretty much the main coach for Main Street. So he just had a great way. Well, he coached Max Q also. I'm forgetting that. I mean, he just did a great job of visioning. He cares so much about the music, so it's never personal. It's only about the music, only always about the music. And then what our voices are doing to help make that music really come alive. So as soon as you it's not personal, then to me it's super easy to open yourself up to just doing whatever, and having a great time.
So you don't mind. I mean, you just want somebody to just say exactly what they want and to keep pushing you until you get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else you're going to learn or change or whatever if you're not pushed in that way. And I mean, I think at this point in my life, there are certain artistic values that I think I have as a performer or even as a director. And so there are probably certain times where I'm like, yeah, I know me well enough that that's probably not going to happen. And I don't mean it I don't mean it as a disrespecting standpoint, but how else can we get to another, what other road can we take to get to a different result is really the thing. I know that probably is not going to, I'm not going to feel comfortable in my skin. And I am confident enough, obviously, to be able to say that just because I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to be anything and go out and make a fool of myself or be emotional or be, vulnerable. I'm willing to do any of that for the sake of the music and an audience really, really understanding what's going on. But I also know what I personally will feel comfortable even getting on a diving board, to
Right.
begin.
So your barbershop training, how has it impacted the things that you've done career-wise that are outside the barbershop community?
I mean, I had a lot of opportunity in the late 90s. I started performing professionally, I guess. It never felt that way. It always felt fun, and like you're performing, then all of a sudden you're like, cool, I got to check. But started performing and then doing studio work, a lot of recording work and so forth, which was just a blast. I think everything that I learned in barbershop has transferred. But the biggest thing for me that has helped in my professional realm is just my ears. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I just hear differently than a lot of people in certain avenues because of how important it is in order for things to really work for barbershop. There's a certain clarity, tonality, coloring, vowel, and if you want to be primitive about it, vowel match and tonality match that has to happen in order for things to really, really work in the barbershop realm. So being able to identify that, hear that, and so forth, then in the professional realm, you've got these amazing voices who a lot of times, if they're in a professional group, they're just bouncing off of each other. They're not connecting to each other, So
Yes.
it's all these amazing individual voices just going, pew, 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 and then you're like, no, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be getting together. So, that's barbershop. I mean, that's what you do in shop to do it well, is figuring out what do I need to do so that the whole is better. I mean, how do I need to manipulate my voice? How do I need to adjust my tuning in the moment because something is not quite aligned, or because it is aligned and I'm off and I need to figure out how to get into it. I mean, that's just what barbershop brings. I don't know why I started on baritone. I actually sang lead for just a little bit of time when my voice first changed. And then this guy named Joe Conley started singing in the chorus and took an interest in me. And all of a sudden I was like, well, I can't do that. But he wanted me to sing with him. So I knew I was going to sing lead. So I found a way to, and he saw something and heard something in my voice to be able. So, I mean, I had him to be able to train with when I was, what? I
How old
mean,
were you when you won in Keepsake? Because aren't you one of the youngest in the AIC, or?
I believe I am. Well, I'm not the youngest in the AIC anymore, but I'm the youngest. Yeah, no, I know. I am the youngest. I'm the youngest to win. I'm younger by like a few months, with a record held by the 14s, which I'm not exactly sure when that quartet won, but I think the youngest member of the 14s, and they were all teenagers, was like 2 or 3 months older than me when I won with Keepsake.
And how old was that?
Yeah, I would have been 19, I guess.
Okay. What's your favorite thing? Competing, doing a show, singing at Afterglow, or doing a performance for a small, more intimate audience? I'm sure there's pieces of all of them that you like, but do you have a favorite?
It's funny. I mean, if you would have asked me that question 20 years ago, my answer would have been completely different.
Okay.
I think now I like doing shows probably most of all. I think probably in order as far as preference now, it would be shows first, small audience second, and anything with competing late.
Lower. Yeah.
I love competing because it gives you a direct goal. It puts you in a place where you have to learn, you have to connect. Love all of that. I just don't like getting on a stage and being judged, because of a variety of reasons. I think that comes with age, where I'm, a more, higher critic, even higher critic of myself, or more critical of myself. So I get out there and I'm just like, ugh.
But you are you are the person. I've seen you many times. You love taking a situation and just going with it. So I have experienced watching you in MexQ with a fly that was flying around you. And there was a good 20 minutes of hilarity, and you guys were having as much fun as we were. And it's mostly led by you. That was my impression then. Now it may not be the case, but from the audience, I'm like, he loves this. He doesn't care if it's 45 minutes.
I was okay at it when I was in Keepsake and Platinum. I really feel like that started coming along because of the opportunity to sing with the Dapper Dans. Now, I never sang full time with the Dans, but I was a sub with them, and there were stints of time where I would work for literally like 2 and 3 weeks, like all at one time, even as a sub. But singing at the Dapper Dans is all about paying attention to what's going on in the moment. I mean, singing and performing while also you're paying attention to, oh, this person's walking by with a happy birthday pin, so when this is done we need to sing a happy birthday to them, or someone dropped their ice cream and we need to make a moment out of them so they feel good. I mean, so many things. It was just the epitome of like live, aware, being in touch with the audience, and also being in touch with the audience of what they would like and what they wouldn't like and what they would respond to, what they wouldn't, so then I think through that time of, and I learned from a couple of the guys that I sang with also. They were wonderful teachers and they never said, hey, do this. I just, again, I just kind of watched and I was like, oh, okay, that's how you
Did
that's
you
how you
ever,
make someone feel comfortable and laugh or whatever it might be. So
did you ever feel nervous as a performer? Or was this is just like being on stage, does that just feel a little bit like home to you?
it does. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, the 2-song contest set, depending on the material, if there's permission to do some stuff here and there, can feel that way. But definitely in a show setting, usually feels really, really comfortable. I'm sure, when we get back to performing my first time on stage, I'm going to be like, yeah, just because it's been so long. But at the same time, it'll probably be a really long show because I'll just like be like, you know?
I have so much to tell you.
Exactly. Since last we met, we need to talk.
So I asked some sweet Adelines who have been coached by you or worked with you, if they could ask you one question, what would it be?
Oh,
So one of them said, you're involved in so many areas of music now. When you were younger, did you see your future self doing all that you're doing now?
no, not at all.
No.
I was going to be a heart surgeon. I mean, when I finished high school, my plan was to be a cardiovascular surgeon. And I mean, that just got, shot away very, very quickly. And everything that has happened with me has been, I don't want to say pure luck, but it sure has been about circumstances, being in the right place, the right time, connections with people through the years. And this is definitely not the path I was expecting in any way.
Okay, somebody else wanted to know, you've been involved in Sweet Adelines for many years. What are some of the best experiences that your participation has?
Ooh, and Sweet Adelines.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you're gonna laugh when I say this, but one of the greatest experiences in my Sweet Adeline realm had nothing to do with music, but it had to do with association. And it was when the Melodiers threw me a shower. I mean, I don't know if you're but that it still is like it was yesterday, and I don't know why. Like I was just so.
We have to wait to tell what it was. Tony's wife was pregnant with Joseph, and he came to do our retreat, and we threw him a surprise baby shower, and we
Yeah.
put him up in front of all of us, and we had this enormous pile of baby presents, and we made him. He opened each one of them, and I mean,
It was crazy. It was like the first time where I was like, this is like unconditional love. And I didn't understand. I just didn't understand what I had done to deserve that amazing favor.
oh,
And seriously, it was just so, I was like, the heart of these people, it was just unreal. And I think that was one of the first times maybe that I had been coaching you guys also.
I think it was first retreat. I think.
Yeah. So I think it was a, it was a new and seemingly really wonderful connection, but that part of it is still. So, I mean, I know that's, like I said, not musical or anything, but that in itself, just amazing. Some of the other ones would be, I mean, obviously seeing my sister win last,
Right. What was that like?
it was awesome. It was also, I mean, because it's not like she hasn't been on the international stage before. She's even been pretty ding dang close,
Yeah.
So it was just, I think she's obviously in a different life place and had a lot of amazing, life experiences along the way that she's had to battle through and celebrate. And so I think it's interesting because I think for her, with what it was, I think there was a maturity there in reaching that goal for her.
It has to be daunting to be your sister. I'll just say that.
She's a great sister. And
I meant, I didn't mean in your personal life. I meant in the barbershop community. with
She's been,
so much spotlight on you, all well deserved.
the thing I appreciate about my sister is that she's just, you know, she's my biggest fan, and
Yeah.
I'm hers. I mean, I just think she's an amazing person. I've been sad that she hasn't, had certain things happen for her in the barbershop world, either, uh, that maybe I was like, oh, that should have, that would have been neat. But at the same time, like I say, I think there was a maturity about this where it was almost like, um,
This time.
this time, this is awesome, and it has its proper place,
Yeah.
and for which I also just was thrilled to celebrate with her. So that was awesome. And then really, I think, the first time, I think it was 2013 in Hawaii when Toast of Tampa competed. We had come in fifth in 2011,
Right.
and there was really great momentum and stuff. But that one in 2013 was when, I'm directing on the international stage with my mom standing in the middle of the chorus, my sister on the front row, um, and, you know, my niece and my daughter are both in the chorus as well. I mean, it just was crazy. And that was an amazing week, um, for everybody, as was, I mean, so many of the Toast weeks that we've been there together have been just wonderful. But that one in particular, that Hawaii experience was just, it was really fresh, really exciting. And again, the first time that I was competing with everybody,
And what a full circle experience, though.
yeah, yeah.
When did Joseph join your men's course? Because you direct a men's course as
Yeah,
well.
he started in 2011. So he was tiny tot as well. I mean, he was 8 years old or whatever, I guess 7 or 8. And that was, yeah, he officially joined in spring of 2011. And then the course that I was directing at the time, the Big Orange, um, was at international that year. And, and it was, again, just crazy to be able to do that. It's my dad was gone too soon, and it just, so thankful for everything he gave me and brought to my life with this association of barbershop.
Right.
um,
And
but
you've passed it on. Your sister passed it on. Your mom has been involved. It's just such a unique story for a lot of us. We don't have that necessarily as a connection. I was fortunate enough to sing with my sister in the Melodiers for 17 years, and we just made so many memories together. And it I can imagine how wonderful it's been for you. Let
yeah,
me I have a question. Dale wanted to know what changed to make your work with Toast of Tampa a passion instead of a job.
I think there was just a hunger to be, kind of, she would say, put your big girl pants on or big boy pants on, uh, and kind of man up for doing it for the right reasons. um, when I started Toast, it was during a unique time. I mean, I came in and I had 6 months, 8 months before the first international.
Wow.
I started in January of their contest year in '07. It was such fast forward mode. It was a little bit of survival. Yeah, I mean, it was just survival, trying to get us to international. And I wanted to do a good job, obviously, but I just, it was more of than anything else, was just like, putting holes in things, and leaks in the boat the whole time. I was a coach for Toast of Tampa when they won, and then remained a coach through the years. And okay, we have 9 months to make sure that I don't do something that has never been done before with Toast of Tampa on the international stage,
Right.
which means like, don't be crappy, because they were always,
Oh, good.
yeah, yeah, they were always good. They were either in the 5 or in the 10. I mean, they never fell out of the 10 when they went to international. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it was just that.
Right.
And, so I think we came in sixth maybe in that contest or something like that. And I think on that Saturday night, it was like, hey, it's it's a victory that we're here, that we made it here. That I think when we made the 10, it was just like, that was an awesome thing. But I think from there, that the scramble mode of what it was then led to just a little bit of, oh, I have to invent a program. So we really charted a course in, as we went to 2011. I thought that had just a clear understanding. But then, I spoke to it earlier. I mean, I think the addition of Sophia in the mix just changed my thinking with the chorus in a lot of ways. And same thing with directing my men's chorus also, just because I knew I was going to have time with the kids. And it's not like we would spend 90 minutes on the drive chatting, but just the association of what it was. And it also that was a time for Toast of Tampa specifically, where we had a huge influx of youth over a several year period. There was just a different spin, even in how we unfolded our identity of who we were, what we sang, what would be appropriate to sing, because of wanting to make sure we were saying the right thing for everybody in our course that now had a literal, age span of, at the time, 10 or whatever to over 80, and how can we take that and make it a beautiful thing and make it something to celebrate and unify everybody behind what we were singing and how we were presenting it.
It strikes me that you really did carry on your father's legacy, because you just described exactly what you had as a child. So you were in the car with them, and that's such a compliment to how you felt growing up in that community, that you wanted your children to do it. So that's wonderful. Well, I know, as someone who's been coached by you, I always would stand there during a coaching session and think, when's he going to sing? When's he going to sing?
You're so sweet.
But we would all be standing there going, sing it.
That's so funny.
So we're very lucky that you have shared that with the world.
Thank you. I mean, Barbershop is, there's just nothing about Barbershop that is anything other than a very innocent, beautiful offering,
Yeah.
So
hey, come here, let me teach you this. Try this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, try this.
It's selfless, it's organic, it's just very real, and it's just like, the only thing that makes Barbershop not great is the people. I mean, people being people at times, when it's just, and that's why I say, just get out of the way and just let the art form do what it needs to do. And gosh, so much of the time it's just like, just right there.
So you described to me once that of the huge a cappella umbrella, Barbershop is just one niche, one little slice. And I've always pictured it that way. If we can keep ourselves focused on that, we have this sound that we produce because of the particular chordal structure and the thing that made all of us go, hey, I want to do that again, that we're part of an enormous a cappella community of people learning to use their voices without accompaniment. That's it. And we have this one style that we like.
Obviously, like I said, everything has to organically adjust. And I think in order for us to continue to move musically, we need to, open some things up. That said, there are times when we open ourselves up so much that new people and or anyone, they don't even get they don't even get what Barbershop really is. It's like they don't know how to tune a 7 chord. They don't understand the sound and how to make their voice go in a certain way, because they're working on something called Barbershop, which really isn't quite Barbershop. And I don't mean that from a keep it Barbershop, get off my yard perspective. It's not that. It's more of just, we as barbershoppers and lovers of the style, and not necessarily what I remember as a kid, but I do remember what hooked me as a person, was, as you mentioned, that certain buzz, and also the consistency, and almost like I know what's coming next because of the simplicity of the circle of fifths and all that kind of stuff, from an ear standpoint. And there's a familiarity in that. Well, at least get that before you move to the other stuff. Don't not get that and then move on to the other stuff and say you're a barbershopper.
Right. We have amateur singers that can do amazing things.
Yep.
Without music degrees, without even having to read music. So you could learn by the numbers of the scale and learning where you are in the chord, and you can produce this wonderful music. I thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, I was thrilled to be here.
Speaks to the community of, that so many of us were missing being together, but we're going to get back to it. We don't know what it will look like, but we're going to make music again.
Well, my personal little editorial disclaimer, I don't think it's ever going to look like it has looked before. We always find out, the genius in humanity always finds something usually that's better, and that will appeal to more people, or appeal in a deeper way to those that are already invested in it. So I'm not sure that we'll ever be what we were, but I do think that we will sing together again. And as I said somewhere last week, I mean, harmony just has to win. I mean, harmony has to win for singing, yes, but harmony has to win, period. There's so many, varied meanings to the word harmony, and we're knee deep in it as barbershoppers. And I mean, because we sing the same words at the same time, and we all pull ourselves around the same center, all that kind of stuff.
Tell us about your background, the background behind you, your virtual background.
Oh, this little virtual background. This is my son's. I should get out of the way. It says shop chat. So my son, a few years ago now, I guess it was in 18, he wants to get into film and filmmaking. And at the time was just motivated. He's like, I want to start a thing called Shop Chat, where I interview people who sing barbershop. He has, you'll see that it says Shop Chat with Shane Scott, if I can get out of the way there. And Shane is, he was tenor of a quartet called Lunch Break. Shane's just an amazing man, wonderful human being, has a pretty amazing story of his own, and does a great job hosting and that kind of thing. But he has a YouTube channel, and it's called Shop Chat. So that's what that is.
Great. Thank you very, very much. It's been wonderful chatting with you this afternoon. And I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your story and for your beautiful talent that you have so graciously shared with all of us through the years. You really have made the world a better place.
My pleasure. You're very kind. I really appreciate being here.